So you guys, welcome back. I hope your graphing is improving a little bit. They're going to do one more example. If you're like, Miss Chang, I get it, then you can actually start the homework if you'd like, okay? But for now, I'll do another one. It says right here, example 54, graph two full periods, y equals 3 cosine 6x plus pi. This indicates that there was a phase shift, and let's also write the equation again. Y equals a cosine bx minus c plus d. Or y equals a cosine b x minus c over b plus d, okay? Whatever you like. I actually like, I told you, like this way. So let's rewrite this equation into this method. It tells me the left and right shifts, right? So y equals 3 cosine 6 x plus pi over 6 is the way I like to see this graph. I could already tell you that the max is going to occur at negative pi over 6 because this gives me 0 there. Okay, you'll see what I mean. Let's do the first step. Always keep it consistent. First step, a peanut butter plus the midline. A peanut butter. Okay, your amplitude is 3. Your b is right here, right? Your b is now pulled out, so it's 6. Easy to see. And your period is 2 pi over b, but your b is 6, so it's going to be pi over 3. And your midline, was there a vertical shift? Nope, so it's going to be equal to 0. That's your midline. All right, this should become automatic too after we do it a few times. Let's go to step 2. Second step. Second step is your start and end, right? Your start and end, right? So let's do this. Okay, so there's 2 ways, you guys. You can do 0 is less than or equal to bx minus c is less than or equal to 2 pi, which is the usual cosine period. Or you can do it, 0 is less than or equal to x minus c over b is less than or equal to your period. Your period, okay? I like doing it this way, but either way you do it, you guys so you could remember all these, because this tells you shift already. So you see how your period, and this is your period shift, and it's going to tell you where to start and where your first cycle ends. That's what this is doing. So whatever you like. So that's what we've been doing too here. I like using this method better. But either way you solve it, when you solve for x in the middle, you're going to get the same values. Okay, so I'm going to use this method. You can try this one if you'd like. So ours is 0 is less than or equal to. This guy is going to be x plus 6, right? X plus pi over 6. And our period is actually pi over 3. And when you solve that, you guys, for x, you subtract pi over 6, pi over 6, pi over 6 here. You get negative pi over 6 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to pi over 6. Okay? And think about that, okay? Negative pi over 6 to pi over 6, because this is 2 pi over 6 minus pi over 6, right? When you simplify. Okay? And that's going to be your start and end. And then I'm going to put out another sheet here, so make sure you digest that a little bit. All right, now what's our third? What's our third step? Interval. Our third step was interval, right? Interval is always going to be interval. Okay, what's your interval? Interval is always going to be 2 pi, your period over 4. What's your period? Pi over 3. And what's 4? It's going to tell us the 4 other critical points, which means you get pi over 12. Looks kind of ugly, but don't be scared. That means, okay, what was our start? Our start was negative pi over 6, right? And what was our end? Pi over 6. That was our start, right? And this was our end. That means every point between that, we're gonna add. We're gonna add pi over 2, and pi over 12, and pi over 12. And you know what, you guys? It's miraculously, they always work out that you get pi over 12 like this. It always ends up that it's gonna be add up to pi over 6. Let's try, okay? Pi over 12. So you guys, I'm gonna actually write this guy as negative 2 pi over 12. Because then it's easier for us to add. So we get, so this guy, negative 2 pi over 12 plus pi over 12 is going to give us negative pi over 12. Next one, we add a pi over 12, we get 0. Next one, we add pi over 2, we get pi over 12. And you guys, what about next one when we add pi over 12? Doesn't it give us 2 pi over 12, which is pi over 6? Ta-da! It always works out. These are our 5 critical points. This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. And you guys, all we've done right here is we've just simplified the fractions, okay? All right, go ask each other what this means, okay? Please, what this means, okay? And remember, these are not multiplying. This is just simplified version of that. All right, let's graph now. Let's graph. Let's do this. Y equals 0 because there was no vertical shift, and our equation is y equals let's write our full equation, which was 3 cosine 6x plus pi over 6. Okay, look, it moved to the left, negative pi over 6, huh? All right, so it says our first one is negative pi over 6, right? Negative pi over 6, negative pi over 6, negative pi over 12, and our next point is 0, pi over 12, pi over 6. Okay, I'm gonna write this y equals 0 smaller, but I'm gonna write it here. Okay, all right. Now we have this. Let's mark our critical points. But you guys, isn't this a positive amplitude and it's a cosine? So we know we start at our max, right? And then we go back to our mid, and then we go to our min, and then we go to our mid, and then we go back to our max. So we know, oh, amplitude is what? 3, right? So 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to start here. Starts at the max, it goes back to 0, it goes to the min, it goes to the 0, and it goes to the max. So it should look like this. And you guys, I'm sorry, this is pi over 12, this is negative pi over 12, and this is 0, our critical points. Okay? And of course, it wants us to do 2 periods. So you can keep going, you guys. How about here? Let's keep going, okay? So this guy is 2 pi over 12, right, guys? Keep adding pi over 12. So isn't this really 3 pi over 12? Isn't this 4 pi over 12? Isn't this 5 pi over 12? Isn't this 6 pi over 12? You can actually simplify these fractions, but I like to do it this way because it's easier for you guys to see the points better. So here, I go back to mid, I go to the mid, I go to the 0, and I go back to max. So here's my rest of my, okay, and then you have to indicate, and you guys, here, we're going to ask you that you guys indicate that the arrow is here and that this also continues this way. Okay, you don't have to label all of them. You just have to label the 5 critical points. Make sure you label these 5 critical points here. Okay, so this guy is what? Negative pi over 6, and this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, this guy is negative pi over 12, 0. This guy here is 0, negative 3. This guy here is pi over 12, and 0. This guy here is pi over 6, 3. Okay, 5 critical points have to be labeled, and we've done 2 periods. Okay, I know it looks a little messy right now, but hopefully you guys can follow along, okay? Check it on your calculators as well. Let's try one more. Actually, no more graphing examples really, but let's go ahead and try something different. Let's actually, I'm gonna give you guys the equation. You guys are looking at this page. I'm gonna give you the actual graph, and you have to tell me to write. I'm gonna have you guys write it in this form. But I'm telling you to write it in this form, that's implying that it's a cosine. Because I know you figured it out already. You're like, what if I start from here? Isn't that actually a sine graph? Oh, you're right. You know that sine and cosine graphs are just phase shifts of each other. We can write it in both ways, and we'll talk about more of that later, okay? All right, so now let's start from here. So let's do it this way first. What do you want to attack first? It looks like we should do, you guys, we have to finish the A, X, D, all that stuff, right? So let's do the first step. Maybe the first step, what's the best thing for us to do? Maybe find the amplitude, huh? The A. And you guys think about it. Amplitude is where's the midline? We should figure out the midline first, huh? Because look, the max, like what's our max? Our max is 8. What's our min? It's 0. Oh, so think about it. What's our midline? You're right. Isn't our midline y equals d, which is 8 plus 0 over 2, which is 4. So midline is 4. So we should draw that line right there. Oh, that's actually off a little bit. Sorry. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's right here. Okay? That's our midline. Doesn't that make sense? Because now that we can count the amplitude too. You can count it if you like, but you don't have to. You can do max, right? A minus min over 2 to get the amplitude, which is 8 minus 0 over 2, which is 4. So our amplitude is 4. Okay? So we already got our A. Okay? Let's do our second step, which is, we found D already too, right? So we actually found D already too, sorry. Okay, we don't have to do it in any order, okay? But now let's X. And they're telling us that there's no phase shift at all. That means we should just count the period. We could even do from max to max, min to min, however you want to, okay? So let's check this out. There is no phase shift, but let's do a period, okay? You guys, let's do our period. What's our period of this guy? Is it period really here? Let's say this guy, so max to max. So it looks like it's from here to here, right? And this is 12.56. Isn't that about 4 pi? So what is this guy telling you? That must be 2 pi. This must be pi. Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pi's, right? So this must be a pi. This is negative pi. So that, oh, our period is 2 pi, because max to max, right? Max to max is 2 pi. Okay, so does that make sense? 2 pi? Okay, or min to min. It doesn't matter. I could pick a point from here, and where's the next time I see this point? Like right here, and that's going to be pi to pi too. It's easy to do, but if you want to do it this way, what's the period of a cosine, you could ask yourself. Period of a cosine is, guys, period, isn't it really 2 pi over b? But what's our b in this case? Our b is 1. That's why you should also know that it's 2 pi too. You could do it any way you like. Oh, but you say, what? You guys, didn't our graph start, you're right. I know what you're thinking, okay?